Hey everyone, guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have spaced out radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com, shop there today, and make yourself look good. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. It is going to be a fantastic night, fantastic weekend. We're going to go ahead and get this thing kicked off like it should be. Glad to be back here, and we do have Jay Albertson, who is going to be joining us tonight, a MUFON state director and experiencer, and a whole lot of stuff that is going to be crazy. You're going to want to stay right here. Don't miss a single moment of tonight's show as we go ahead and check out and see if I can see who actually came in first with the medal positions tonight, courtesy of Race Fan. It looks like, according to what I see here, we have Race Fan with the gold, we have Roger Murray with the silver, and Adam B with the bronze. So definitely want to appreciate you guys all coming in. Roger Murray dropping us some facts here. February 20th, 1962, Mercury 7 astronaut John Glenn made third orbit around Earth. Friendship 7 encounter with orbs, what called fireflies. I like that. He's always keeping us informed. Surrounded capsule to this day. Can't be explained. Roger Murray. Appreciate you as well. Who else do we have in here? We said Adam B is here as well. Race Fan with the gold. Tim James. UFO Tim James, everybody, the weekend is here. That means it's time for Mr. Rob G. That's right. We're going to get it in this evening, as we always do. The Radio Wendigo, I see you out there. Thanks for coming in. Mel WD40, getting us lubed up for the show on the weekends, too, because we need it on the weekends as well. Road Flares in the building. Hi, Rob. Hi, Road Flare. Thanks for coming in. Frankie B, I see you out there. Let's see. Who else do we have? Eternity Eternal, I see you out there as well. Thanks for coming on in. Trying to get to as many people as we can. Let's see, who else do we have on the list? Let's keep going down. Pam Harris. Hi, Pam Harris. Mark, USA number 1. That's right. Gory Tiger saying, what's up? Thanks for coming in. Ethanol, I see you as well. Emperor Penguin in the building. Hey, Emperor Penguin. Yep, Rob G tonight. Kurt W75. Appreciate you showing on up as we go ahead and get ready to start the podcast side of this. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. We're going to have an awesome time tonight. We have Jay Albertson, who is a military veteran, MUFON investigator, amongst a lot of other things, for hours 1 and 2. And then we have the return of Drew Banky with the After Hours wrap up tonight, along with Steve Stockton Tells Untold Missing Person Mysteries. Let's get ready to start the show. Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. You've just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I am your host, Mr. Rob G, and tonight we're broadcasting to you on our terrestrial affiliates across North America, plus digitally on digital platforms all around the world. Don't forget, you can access our archives for absolutely free. YouTube.com/spacedoutradio. And while you're there, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to follow us on X and Instagram at Spaced Out Radio, at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the SOR Newswire. You can get yourself some official Spaced Out swag. Plus, you can rock out to the man that you hear right there, Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Dahl. And so much more. Like I said, we're going to get into some really good stuff tonight. We have Jay Albertson, who is, you're going to know him under a different name, and he'll be open to share that if he would like here tonight. But we're going to go ahead and not waste any time as we get ready to jump into the show and bring Jay in, because I think it is going to be a fantastic conversation. And let me go ahead and bring Jay up to the stage. Jay, how are you, sir? Thanks for joining us tonight. Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, thanks for joining us tonight, Jay. It's just starting off, as it says on the screen, Sergeant Army retired. So thank you for your service, sir, as we love and respect our vets here on Spaced Out Radio and the After Hours Radio Show. I want to, as with any guest, I mean, you're with MUFON, you're state director with MUFON. You have a lot of stuff that you can talk about there. You've had experiences, encounters, potentially abductions, implants. Is going to be a crazy conversation tonight. So I can't wait to get into that, Jay. But if you wouldn't mind, let's start out when you were young. Did you ever have a interaction with the phenomena? Is there anything that you could talk about there?
Sure. I had multiple interactions when I was younger. My parents actually told me when I grew up that they couldn't leave my bedroom. They had to low crawl out of my bedroom because I was so scared something was going to happen at night. They would have to sleep on the floor and low crawl out to get to their room. But yeah, I had a mechanical looking eye come out from underneath of my bed, look at me, and then I freaked out. I screamed, and it went right back under my bed like it wasn't even there.
That's bananas. So what do you parents say to something like that? Because before you say that, I've since I've gotten into this, and I know that there are actual things that you may see, apparitions and things you could come across. I always say, parents, when your kids come and tell you that they're seeing things coming from under the bed, just go check, because you just never know, right? So what did they say to you? Same sort of stigma with the parents, or how do they treat it?
Just like all parents do. It's your imagination, you're just imagining it. One time I had imagined and it was it's like you wake up and you think you're woken up out of your dream, but you're still in the dream. It's a weird feeling. It's like I woke up one time on my bed and I was frozen, but my eyes could still look around. And as I'm looking, a giant snake-like creature, came out from underneath my bed, same spot, looked at me. I freaked out on it, and it went back underneath. It was a weird house too to begin with, because everything would happen there. It would be spirits. It would be my dad had a workshop down from his bedroom down a hallway. He would not work in that workshop at night. because he could not stand the feeling of walking down that hallway to that room.
Mm. I know that feeling. I'm that way right now, especially because I saw some shadow people that I filmed in my house, and every time I walk through the house, I flick the light switch on and I look right over where I saw it originally, and I'm just like, it's a thing. So did he have an experience that you know of that made him that way, that made him feel that way?
He had other experiences himself. He had some that were just it was walking down to the basement. We had a wood stove instead of any kind of heater in the house. We had a wood stove with the vents that went through the house, and you put the wood in and it heats up, and it comes throughout the house to heat. And a couple times he would go downstairs and he would say that, I swear I saw a handprint on the outside the window, or I saw a face, looking at me from outside the window. And he would just think the same thing, I was, oh, I'm just imagining it. It's not there. Until my mother went upstairs and actually like had something grab her hand, like grab her arm when
Mhm.
she was walking down that one hallway to my dad's workshop. And she never walked down that hallway again.
Wow, 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 wow. I want to, because I know you sent over some documents real quick here before we get into everything else. I just want to show uh
Sure.
the people your documents here, and so Jay is legit. Jay is 100% legit. And as nowadays within this whole community, it's almost needed for people to show receipts just so you can know who it is that you're speaking to. So with that being said, let me go ahead and bring this up here.
That's
And
what anybody should do, is verify their credentials. If they're going to tell a story, you verify your credentials first to the person.
I like that. I like, everyone knows here I'm hashtag receipts, and I believe receipts should be always provided. So
Mhm.
let's see, as we bring this up here. This is the first document that you had listed here. If you want to explain what this is to the people and to the radio audience out there.
Yeah, this is the when I got out of the military, I did not keep my clearance, which doesn't have a final clearance date granted because of the fact I didn't keep it. I didn't keep up with my clearance. But when I was in, I did have a top secret clearance, um, as an E4, because of the fact of my job that I was in. It was granted by the authority of the commander. And there was no time limit on this actually running out. Normally you would have granted by authority of the commander, this is valid for 90 days, but this document was valid for the whole period of my job that I was in, that position that I was in.
Well, that's awesome. So it definitely shows that you definitely had top secret clearance while in service. Also, there was this email here that was sent, and I'll read it. Well, I guess explain it, and then I'll read it for the radio audience.
Okay. Well, as with any military personnel, if you want to talk about any programs you're involved with, SAP programs, special access programs, you have to go through what's called a DOPSA request. And I was wanting to do that on a program that I was involved with in 2006 and 2007 in Iraq. I went through the right channels through the DOPSA request, and this is the email that they sent me back, pretty much telling me that don't open your mouth for your entire life on what you know.
Exactly. And to read what it says, Mr. Albertson, I understand from our administration staff that you inquired about participating in a podcast and discussing the work you did while in service. Generally speaking, programs such as the one you worked on are considered so sensitive to our national security that you are not permitted to discuss anything about it to anyone not read onto the program. The non disclosure agreement you signed when you were read on is a lifelong obligation
Hmm.
to protect national security. If you still would like to seek out additional information about what's permitted and not permitted, I suggest contacting the Joint Improvised Threat Defeat Agency, which is part of the Defense Threat Reduction Agency. Good luck. Regards, Jill Swartz, Policy Team Lead, Defense Office of Pre-Publication and Security Review. Yeah. So essentially, what there was something that you were going to, or how did that work exactly, and how this triggered the email?
I was approached by another podcast a while ago. I don't know if you're aware of it. UNX News.
Heard of it.
Yeah, it's probably a small podcast, but it's UNX News. They do UFO news. So they wanted me to discuss something that I had done in the military, a program that I worked on in Iraq. And I went through the right request. I said, I know what I can and can't discuss about a program being military, and what is national security that doesn't need to be released and what can be released. Us military people know that we're not going to release, information that would jeopardize anything in the United States, but we have to go through this process. And if we don't, then obviously, I would probably be in jail for the rest of my life. Or if maybe if I said something about the program, not even maybe just a word, the next day I could get followed. I could get, looked at, emails looked through, programs on my phone disappeared, and I can't even find them on Play Store anymore. But it's weird when you're getting into that, because being military, you want to release this information. Well, sometimes with the right information you want to release, and you try to do the right thing to get it out there, and everybody gets this exact probably email back. You can't discuss it, period, which is nonsense. And pretty much, I worked on that program in 2006. That's damn near almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
There should be something that I should be allowed to say about it, but they won't let me talk about it.
Okay. So let me ask you this, and maybe you can answer, maybe you can't. Does it have anything to do with the phenomenon?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, yeah. So it gets tricky. Wow. So let's go this way. What is there anything you can say about what you did outside of the things that they clearly don't want you talking about? Is there any roundabout way that you are able to maybe give insight or point in a direction without violating?
I'll give a very brief summary. What I did was I worked on signal defeating equipment. If you're driving through an area and you have somebody on a cell phone and you have a convoy going through, the signal defeating equipment I worked on was based to that if someone had an IED buried on the road and they had it hooked up with an antenna, you're 3 miles away looking at me through binoculars and you're about to push that button. You're like, oh, I'm going to get you. Push the button. The signal is going to come through, but it's blocked. So it never blows up the improvised explosive device. And the guy's just sitting there pressing the button going, oh my God, what's going on? It's not going off. That's the kind of things I was involved with.
Okay. And so with that being said, because right immediately after you say that, there's going to be someone out there to say, oh, but you just said what you were. So what about how you just position that allows you to say what you just said without violating this here?
Because it doesn't go into any specifics into the program at all. All it does is give you a general basis of what I did. No code words, no code names, nothing like that. That's the only reason that I'd be able to say that.
Okay. All right. Great. So, okay. So we have that. We laid the foundation. We presented paperwork. So we know who you are. Everyone knows who you are, what clearances you held. Got a little bit about what you may or may not have done while with the program. So going further on, so when did you link up with MUFON, and was the fact that you were involved with other things while in service, did that lead into why you went into MUFON?
Yes. Um, that was probably the main reason. Some of the things that I saw when I was in the military, it didn't jive with me. My conscience did not jive with what I was seeing. And when I got out, there was an agent. I was trying to find another way to go into the topic without going into government, because I believe that there's a lot of doors in government that are closed that should be open to a scientific mind. Um, there's technologies out there that would change the world, but they're not coming out. They want to keep them to themselves and everything else. But so I was like, well, what can I do to help with disclosure, help try to use what I learned in the military and use it for something that I know I can do, which is, field investigating, investigating UFO sites, investigating creature sites, investigating appearances, ghosts, paranormal, abductions, you name it. I will investigate anything, even if MUFON, says, well, we might not go too paranormal. Well, I think it's still a basis for discussion, though. Even though you won't scientifically prove it, it's still the basis for discussion. You still have to have that discussion.
And I like that. I like that. Before we get too far in the MUFON, I do want to ask you, because you pointed out there that you decided to go into MUFON because you didn't want to do further things with the government, right? So let me ask you this: what type of jobs or positions, being that you were part of a program that may or may not have done things with anomalous things, what type of job openings would you end up, if you chose to go that way? What type of job examples would have been available to you, I guess?
Well, the job field that I was in the military was CBRN. It was 74 Delta 20 was the code. It was chemical, biological, radiological weapon specialist. So I dealt with in the military. Basically, I dealt with anything chemical wise. I was on the Fox vehicles. We were searching for WMDs, weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Giant vehicles that have pretty much a giant nose on them that sniffs everything and in the air and directs you where that direction of air came from, so you could travel in that direction.
Okay, and then so like because you have, and the reason why I ask this is
Mm.
I wanted to try to form a pattern, right? Because you see a lot of whistleblowers that come out who are and a lot of times ex-military, also like Lou Elizondo and others, that end up taking governmental positions after they're done with their work in these programs. So just trying to get an idea of, if you did choose to go or with government jobs after you left the program, what type of jobs would be open for a person like yourself?
Um, Probably more intelligence. The last duty station that I was in was the 204th MI aerial reconnaissance unit down in Fort Bliss, Texas. So mine would have been military intelligence gathering, or it would have been counterintelligence.
Okay. Okay. And when we talk about counterintelligence, because Lou Elizondo admits to being part of that, how do you view that whole thing? So, I'm sure you see, because you've been in, and then you also see what perspectives are of people within the community who have issue with Lou coming out and saying that he's been part of this and part of that. How do you view that? And what is your opinion on Lou Elizondo, maybe his credibility, and if it's okay to still have that connection with the United States government?
Well, I will say one thing. If they went from the military to the government, then they aren't done with the military. You have to understand that if you go from one government job to another, still holding the same security clearance, you're still in the military per se. You're just in the upper echelon.
Mm.
You're in the big boy chair. You did your time in the military, earned all of that, whatever you did, education, special programs to add up to what you're now doing in the government. So these people that are coming out, they have to walk a fine line because they still hold a security clearance. You know, myself, I don't hold a security clearance, but I'm still under NDA. It's the same thing with them. They're still under NDA. So when they come out, they can only give you tidbits of information that they can't hold up a document to the screen and say, here it is, unclassified, no blacked out parts, because it would give too much away to our enemies. I mean, we have too many. There's the world needs to come together as one and stop worrying about fighting each other, and then we'll be good.
Okay, and so the fact that individuals like Lou choose to stay with the government after the fact, does that mean less credibility when talking to the public about the UFO topic? Because a lot of people say there's a conflict of interest there. Do you feel that staying with the government would automatically make you less credible in the things that you come out and talk about?
No, because let's say Lou Elizondo was involved with something in the military that he saw, and he wanted to make a difference. That is why some of the people also choose to go to government. I chose not to. I chose to go the civilian route and try to make change from the outside. Now, Lou, he is trying to make change from the inside. I do believe that. Now, how he does it, like I said, he has to walk that fine gray line, because certain things. Now, I'll give you an example. I was almost set up in Pennsylvania when I went out to a witness's house to do an investigation from MUFON. And it wasn't even my case. I don't know how I got it. I went down there, started to investigate like normal, but it wasn't my area. Didn't even know how I got the case. Went down there. Police were called. Everybody was called there. Who's this person in your house with your 86-year-old mother? And I was like, I'm from MUFON. Like, you have to walk that fine line, because they'll do things. They'll follow you. They'll make it known that they have their eyes on you. Not that they're going to do anything to you, just that we see you. That's it.
Okay, we'll kind of stop right there as we have about 10 seconds. Perfect place to stop as we get ready to go into our first break of the night right here on Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show, guys. I'm telling you, it's going to get really good. Don't go anywhere. Come right back if you do right here, and we'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are clear. We are clear. Off to an awesome start, Jay.
I like that outro music. I'm a musical person. I like the instruments and stuff. I like hearing that.
Yeah. It like I said, music. And I told somebody this. It's the soundtrack to life. Like, it doesn't matter what language you speak. Music brings people together, and it's almost an emotion, right?
Oh yeah. I like going to the powwows here. That's where I actually got this one here. Grizzly bear claw.
Let me see. Bring you up here. Oh wow, Jesus.
Yeah, big claw.
Yeah. I can imagine the thing that was on. Yeah. That doesn't seem glad he's there.
I like going to those the powwows because of the music and the dancing and it's just a lot of energy.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't been to one, but I'm pretty sure I would enjoy it based off of that. And it's something I already said I wanted to do: reconnect with the natives, and kind of get that energy within me, because the end of the day, they know the full story. They know
Oh yeah,
exactly what's going on. So,
they've known for a while.
and Juliana McGill saying Grizz Claw legit. Yes, it
Yeah.
is. And thanks for coming in, Juliana. Appreciate you showing on up. Chill Farm Brisbane, thanks for coming in. Thanks for showing up. Karen in the Woo Train, appreciate you coming on in. Let's see. I saw someone else. Robert Odell. Hey, Robert Odell, brother of Howie Odell, Ed Odell. Hello from Richmond, Virginia. The other frog brother. Hello to Rebecca Rose. Appreciate you coming on in, Robert. And let's see. Ciela Azul, thank you for coming on in. Legit Jay, sweet with the receipts. That's look. Period. The receipts need to be brought to the table if able to do so. Like there's no way you should have receipts and not bring them forward. I can understand, like in this case with the military, you're gonna have receipts, so you should probably bring those every time. As an
I'll,
experiencer, you're not going to have receipts every time. So I
I'll
can
tell you. I'll tell you one thing. One thing all military guys always have. You ready?
Let's go. I'm gonna put you up full screen. Here we go.
They always have an "I Love Me" book
Okay.
filled with everything that you've ever done in the military.
Oh wow, wow, wow.
And it's, all if you ever run into a military guy and you say, "Hey, can I take a look at your I Love Me book?" This is what it is. It's their information, all their stuff they did in the military.
And they should know that term. I love me book.
Yep, they should know it
Okay,
because
okay.
you make one up every time you go to the board for promotion because you want them to look at your achievements.
Well, that's tripling down then on CLSO's comment. Legit J, sweet with the receipts. That's what we're talking about here. Awesome. That's awesome, Jay. Let me see. Kurt W75, thank you, Jay. Respect, brother. I don't know anything because nobody knows the truth, but I respect that you brought a bunch of evidence. That's awesome. So no one can say BS. That's right. That's right.
I
It'll
don't
be
like it when people are up there saying, "Hey, I was on this program and I saw this thing flying and it didn't look right." Okay, that's cool. You saw it, but what do you have to back up what you just said?
And as a MUFON investigator, I'm sure that comes handy as well because you definitely want as much evidence as you can before you start the investigation.
Oh yeah.
And I'm with you on that 100%. I really am. As we have about a minute left before we come back from first break. And then our second break is off camera, so you'll be able to run on, do anything you need to do.
Yeah.
But let's see. Okay, Roger Murray saying Jay Albertson, my father served U.S. Air Force Vietnam 81st fighter 81st fire wing, Brentwaters, England. He was a
Oh
McKee.
yeah. That's awesome. See, I'm glad to see like military people out there because sometimes we get home from war and just go into the shadows.
Mm. Yeah, and Drew Banky, our guy you met earlier before the show, he's doing awesome work with vets. And we're going to talk about that when we finish up tonight. But awesome guy. Because we have about 15 seconds left before we come back here, and we'll be talking about implants. We'll probably get to that in about an hour or two. Here we go. All right, everybody, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. Back with our guest here, Jay Albertson, retired military vet. and MUFON investigator as well, and experiencer. We're going to talk about all that and more. Make sure you don't go anywhere. Also, if you missed anything we said tonight, go back in the archives, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and catch up as we get right back into the conversation. So we're kind of just talking about like the positions that would be available to someone that would leave the government, and then just because you decide to stay with the government doesn't mean you're less credible, if any, automatically, because some people think that for whatever reason. Is there, as and you were given a great explanation about how if they were in the military and stay with the government, there's technically still military.
Yeah.
They're just kind of doing bigger things or in a more cushier position as well. If you want to finish that thought, you can go ahead and do that. And
I believe that, they're either two types of people. Well, three types of people. There are people in the military that get out and go into a civilian job to try to enable disclosure, to help disclosure along. There's also the military people that they go into a job field in the government afterwards. Now, like I said, they're probably still in because they hold the clearance and everything. They still have the NDAs. They're still bound by everything military wise, even though they are out of the military. But they could be trying to affect disclosure from the inside, which could be both good or bad. You have to take from the good from the bad. If somebody comes out and says, I have evidence, where is it? If they say they have it, then they need to show it. If they say they have it and they don't show it, there's nothing to tell you that guy is telling you the truth or misleading you along, saying that you're looking over here and I'm doing something in your backyard.
okay.
So, and then the third type, you get out of the military, don't see stuff in the military that made you not want to go and try anything for disclosure. High valued operations or anything. They get out, they close their mouth until deathbed confessions, and then they pass away. And we get the tapes afterwards.
Oh, interesting. So let me ask you this, because during the break, our radio audience won't know this, but you showed a book which is called an I Love You book. If you could explain to them what that is.
An I Love Me book in the military terms is something that all military should know. If you go up to somebody and say, hey, do you have an I Love Me book? Because your I Love Me book is when you have all of your certificates, your achievements, everything you've done in the military from the day that you got in till the day that you get out. You keep it in that book because every time you go to boards, every time you go to selections or job fields that you want to get, they'll look through that. It's an easier way for them. They'll just look through it and they'll see your whole entire military career right there. You're at a board getting for promotion. They want to see what you did. I hand them that book. That's everything. They can just look right through it from there until I'm at that unit and see everything I did and all my achievements.
Very, very important to know, Jay, because here's the thing, and I'm sure you see this too. When you have, when we invite our brother skeptics into the community and sister skeptics, because we should all be in the same room having a conversation, they'll bring up things about, work histories on people like a David Grush or Lou Elizondo. So presumably they have these I Love Me books as well, right? Which they could, if they needed to or wanted to, could present to kind of validate everything that they had done. Let me ask you this then, because it seems like, and I don't know because I haven't vetted any of this, but you'll have skeptics that claim that they've looked into an individual like a Grush, and they'll say, oh, his history didn't match up. So why would a former military person come to the table and think that they would be able to give false facts about what they had done when there is a record like that? in it, like a book that could be shown to show all their achievements?
Well, it depends on what they are coming out with for the government. Uh, Another two different kinds there when we go to the government. You can have somebody that is presented evidence from an agency saying, I want you to disclose this and let people know that, I don't know, we have bases in Antarctica, we want eyes down there. We don't need eyes here. So then you'll have people like that come out. But then you'll also have people that come out, and there are people in these programs that I've even been told that want to come out. They do, but they're scared. They're scared for not only themselves but their families. I mean, you have to understand that as well. But when it comes to them disclosing information, it's a touch and go subject. It's either, like I said, the government is telling them what to disclose and saying, you disclose this, or they're saying, hey, this is what you are allowed to disclose from what you knew, not them telling you what to disclose.
Okay, so is there a world where a person like a Grush, well, and I'll use probably Jake Barber right now because he seems to be the one that's really getting it right now, but and he had come out and said that he was a tier 1 operator. And you may know more about what that means, but there's people in the skeptic community that have, I guess, gone through some of his data and says, no, actually, you weren't. So is this a situation where he literally could go to that book and just show them, say, here, this is what I did, and kind of show them, or is that potentially something that might be not allowed because of DOPSR or NDA?
If he saved it, there's the thing. Me, I always printed out every single thing I did, all my achievements, had them in the book. That was just me. Some people are like, oh, I've got it on the computer. Oh, I've got it on my online drive, and then it's gone. And then they don't have that anymore. So it depends on what happened. Like, he could have had it. Like, I've heard some people say that they have a dead man switch. That if I die, all this information's coming out. Well, why don't you just put it out now? If you have it, put it out, and they won't be able to get rid of you anyway. People say, oh, I've got this information, but they won't bring it out. That's what really makes me upset too.
Are we to assume then that because of there's things that could get in the way, like DOPSRs and NDAs, are we to assume that if a person from the military is coming out and stating that they had done this particular job, that they're allowed to say that then, right? They must be, and it should be something, if they have the paperwork, they could show as well to prove that or back that up.
Yes, just like I did. They should have had a DOPSR request. You seen the email that I got back from mine. They should have had an email that stated, here is what you are allowed to talk about, or you can't talk about this your whole life. They will have that. Now, even if I am not allowed to talk about it my whole life for the whole program, I can still go higher, like I said in the email, to the Threat Defense Office, and I can ask them, what is not a threat in this space that I could discuss? And that's what I can put out. But I haven't gone that far up yet. So it's a toss up, as far as that.
To give your opinion on the way the government uses NDAs and DOPSRs, do you feel like it's justified in all cases as being blanketed under a matter of national security, or do you think it is used as a tool just to, in some cases, to silence what the bigger story is?
I think it's over securified, which is you have a non-sensitive video of something flying through a base, and you can't release that. Why? it's not sensitive. So you should be able to release that video. There's a lot of things in the military that should be released that aren't.
Okay. And it seems that, you know, because I think what you were talking about is like the overclassification sort of thing where, you know, things in John Greenwald talks about that a lot too, because he does a lot of FOIA requests and a lot of things that come to find out shouldn't have probably been redacted, ended up being redacted. So, and I'm just trying to see, just from your standpoint, if you feel like these things, NDAs and you know, restrictions that they put on being able to release information, if they're using it as a tool, essentially to kind of keep the bigger story from coming to light.
Yes, I do believe that, because if they to silence somebody in the military, all you have to do is give them an NDA. They can't do anything. You are bound by military law. I'm bound. I was bound when I was in the military, and I still hold that, but you know, to defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. You know, you're bound by that law. And you know, and when you're in, you get that NDA and you're like, okay, I can't discuss anything from this program, but I should be able to discuss it. The NDAs are suppressing whistleblowers to a point where, like I said, it's over securified. Like you'll have a just a minimal thing that happens and it gets a top secret clearance viewing. You know, that you have to have a top secret clearance and go into a skiff, which is a secured compartmentalized information facility. You have to go into a skiff to view this information, and you know, you can only view it, can't take it out, can't write down anything. You know, before you go in the skiff, your pockets are emptied, everything into a locker. You go in with nothing and you leave with nothing. That's the way it works. You can look at it, but you can't take it.
Okay, so looking at that, then being that now you're more on the civilian side as far as your investigation goes, and your furtherment with the community, UFO community, then is it a waste of time then to sit and wait for government officials to come forward, knowing that likely they have an NDA in place that doesn't let them talk about certain things, and that DOPSR kind of maybe only allows things that they want or approve, you know, certain things that they want to come out, which essentially means a government narration to the story. So are we, you know, when we are seeing these whistleblowers come forward that were part of the government, and we're giving them praise essentially for having the courage to do so, they get out and they tell the story. Is it always going to be a point, because of NDAs, that story will be limited and maybe not even helpful, I guess, if they don't want certain parts of the story to come out?
Yes. That is definitely the case. I know a couple cases of, I believe it was Brazil. I don't know the exact place in Brazil. I think it was Colares, Brazil, or Colares. There was a UFO incident there where people were being abducted and hurt.
Yeah.
But it turns out that the CIA released documents actually this year that stated that they actually did the whole thing. They planned it. They did it. They did it for, you know, to make the populace afraid of them so that they could claim certain lands in that area. And that was the CIA.
Wow. I hadn't heard that. That's new to me.
Polaris, Brazil.
Yeah, I remember that was back in the 70s, I think, they
Mhm.
had that wave. Yeah, I have to look into that, because
Like
that's crazy.
a spaceship, like if you're gonna get probed by an alien, you're gonna be in the spaceship. You're gonna be you can't move, you're on this floating table, you can't, stuff happens when you're there that you don't just stand there and a beam of light hits you and then all of a sudden you've got, no loss of time, but you have 3 little pinpricks on your arm, like where they drew blood. Why would an alien ship need to fire a dart at you to draw blood with a blinding light when they can just take you up? That was us. We did that.
Yeah. I mean, when you lay it out that way, that does make a lot of sense. I like going down the logical thought path as well. And it does make sense. They can just take you without even touching you, from what I've heard from
Mm-hmm.
stories. We'll get into your story here coming up an hour too. But and then your experience with MUFON, right? Because you're going to have different accounts that you've taken notes on from different experiences as well, and you're going to be able to see what lines up and what doesn't line up.
Yeah.
So it's cool to hear that from you. As we have we have about 8 minutes here before we go to break. I kind of wanted to get into some of your MUFON stuff, right? Because you're a state director for MUFON in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I'm a state section director. I have 8 counties in the center of Pennsylvania. I also have a MADAR node, which is a long word for magnetical anomaly detector in my house. So it detects any anomalies that are actually in the air magnetically. And then I have I don't know, probably when I got out of the military, I thought, well, if I'm going to start investigating, I need equipment. So I got, I don't know, I probably have about 10 grand worth of equipment right now, down from EMF meters, radiation, cave gas detectors, lightning storm detectors, magnetical anomaly detectors, to RF signal detectors, to another piece of equipment I just got was it's a high powered frequency generator that I had custom built by Radio Custom Antennas. And it can boost a signal up to 5.5 gigahertz. And I have an omnidirectional antenna that goes with it that was custom built. So I go into the field with technology and follow the evidence. That's what I do.
That is awesome. And I know you had a case, one of the bigger cases that you dealt with that you wanted to talk about. Go ahead. I'll let you lay that out.
Yeah, I got a phone call. Now you can see the emblem behind me, the rapid, rapid special response unit. And that's what I'm part of with MUFON. And it's the rapid response unit pretty much is it's a 24-hour notice. I'm under 24-hour notice. So if they called me up and they said, we have a UFO landing site that happened in Wapwallopin at 2:00 in the morning, and they called me at 5:00 in the morning, and I said, I'm on my way. We went up there to Wapwallopin, and I saw a circle on the ground, and I was like, oh, okay, it's a small size, I'd say about maybe about a yard and a half long. And it was a circle with 3 circles on the inside of it that had, it had microwaved the grass, meaning that it had burned the grass from the inside out. If you hold a lighter to the grass, you're going to burn it from the outside. That's a normal burn. You cook stuff in your microwave. That's a microwave that it cooks it from the inside out. That's why you're always sitting there and putting it back in the microwave to reheat it, because it didn't heat it up all the way on the outside. So when we got up there, I didn't realize it at the time. I should have known my background, but this is one that I didn't, and it skipped my mind. And I didn't have a long sleeve shirt on, wasn't wearing a mask, and I went into the area. I had burn marks show up only on my arms, nowhere else on my body, just on my arms. And
Wow.
went to the hospital, and I had the EMF detector with me when I was at the hospital. Put it up to my arm, and it actually had a reading of 5.5 on the EMF. And it was a low reading, but any reading is something. And I'm looking at this doctor going, do you see what I see? And he looks at me and says, oh, you're with MUFON. Oh, UFOs. Yeah, that's unexplained skin eruption. And I said, oh, get the hell out of here. Unexplained skin eruption. Like, it's a, they like to say that. But anyway, I got injured, went to the hospital, tried to get the right medical help, had all the scientific stuff with me. Doctor still didn't believe me. Gave me, some cream for my arm that did nothing, because what was happening was when there was high elements in the soil, we found, which we did lab results from MUFON. We sent it to our MUFON lab in Missouri. They did XRF microscopic tests with the laser to find out what was actually in it. And also they did photographic scans. That's why we found out that the grass was actually burned from the inside out. So it was a microwave emission that hit the ground. So it wasn't a normal burn. Now what they said was that the high amount of the elements in the soil, which were lead, cadmium, we even found some uranium in the soil that was still there, which is kind of weird, but we found uranium in the soil up in Wallapin.
Wow.
And those elements on top of that microwave emission hitting the ground charged up those particles together, and it made some kind of energy that was coming out of the ground. So when I was going over and taking samples with my arms, I was getting hit by these, whatever was coming out of the ground. And at that point.
So that obviously leans into what a lot of people report of there being like radioactive material on scene or affecting vegetation or things right after a landing or really a close encounter. I want to get more into that. This case, what was this? When was this case? You said during
this case was in 2022. And it would have been in the MUFON symposium. We had a MUFON symposium that we do every year. I wasn't actually there for it, but I actually had my, my slideshow and all my information was there, being presented by the international investigator, Bob Spearing.
Okay, yeah, and I'm familiar with him as well. Okay. Well, this has been awesome. It's been an awesome hour so far here with Jay Albertson. And we're going to make sure that we jump into other things. We showed the receipts for the military history, the background. We dived into some of the work that he's done with MUFON, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But he's also an experiencer, and we're going to talk about an epic situation where maybe he currently has an implant in him right now at this moment, and it's going to blow your mind. So make sure you guys don't go anywhere, because we will be getting into that for hour number 2. And I'm telling you, it's a compelling story. So you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with our guest, Jay Albertson.
Conversations that move the needle.
Conversations that move the needle.
You're listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio. You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
All right, and we'll be right back. All right, everyone. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour number 2. And we're back with our guests here, Jay Albertson. We have about 30 seconds before we come back from radio break. If you missed anything tonight, remember, jump in archive, youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Let's see here. We have about 25 seconds. Area 51, appreciate you coming on in. Saying, damn, Chill Farm Brisbane, saying, love the vibe. We love that you love the vibe, and appreciate you being here. CS, hey CS, appreciate you showing on up tonight. And 5 seconds, and here we go. All right, everybody, welcome back. Spaced Out Radio, After Hours Radio Show, after hour number 2. Back with our guest, Jay Albertson, Army veteran, MUFON director, experiencer, which we'll get into this hour. Make sure you don't go anywhere. If you miss any of the conversation, hop back in the archives, absolutely free, youtube.com/@spacedoutradio. And we're going to jump right back into the conversation here. So, Jay, right before the break, so we're talking about your MUFON encounter, and you gave a great detailed encounter. You were doing something with ancient aliens. You ended up kind of getting sick behind it, went to the doctor. And is that the thing? So I don't know how many doctors you've been to, or maybe your investigations, maybe you can answer this. Does it seem that all doctors have that sort of outlook when, you know, people are coming in potentially with injuries that may be related to something anomalous? Do you gather that might be their response?
I believe it's always bias. The doctors, they only know what they're taught. So if you come in with something new, you shock them, and they're like, okay, this isn't part of my programming, you know, and they default, which is what this guy did. He just said, okay, it looks to me like it's, you know, unexplained skin eruption. But in the same sense, it was an EMF burn, you know, electromagnetic burn. Same thing, just he said it a different way, you know. But I believe they're biased. They like I said, they only know what they're taught. And the UFO field is now growing more, that there is people out there with injuries that come up, and doctors do need to get retaught new experiences, new things that are happening out there to people, to be better off to help them. If they don't, then we're just stuck in the same cycle of, you know, you come in and we don't believe you and you leave. That's not a cycle I want to be in.
I love that, Jay, because I was actually about to bring that up. So I'm glad you covered that. Yes, doctors do need to open up to, once again, a world that we are still discovering and figuring out. And for them, it should be the same thing. I'm sure there's things in their own field that have recently been discovered they didn't know about. And I've seen them misdiagnose things all the time. So let's be real as far as that goes. But let me ask you this as we shift in and get ready to shift into your own experience, which I think is actually awesome and epic. When you look at the investigations within MUFON overall, if it in the craft category, what's the top shape described in craft encounters? And then also, how about how many, you know, are abduction encounters prevalent as well within the state of Pennsylvania based on your research?
Well, right now we have 2 different teams. We have the regular team and we have an ERT team, which is it's called Experiencer Researcher Team. It's a separate part of MUFON. They deal with the abduction kind of part. They were the ones that I actually worked with my experience as well. As far as like stuff that I've known in MUFON, I mean, there was a lot of cases that I've been involved with in the MUFON. Some with skinwalkers, some with portals, some with Tic Tacs are a big UFO that we see. Tic Tacs and the morphing UFOs. Now you'll get a UFO out there that looks like an orb, but then it will transform and it will mimic another object around it, a plane, a bird, whatever is around it, so that you're not looking at it like a UFO anymore. You're looking at it, oh, it's a drone, and you look away. They like to mimic. They like to mimic everything. So when you're in the sky and you see something, most of the ones we see, like I said, are the Tic Tacs and like the morphing UFOs.
Okay. And so, and that's, it goes along with some of the research I've done as well here in California, those white spherical objects, oblong tic-tac objects, which is what I've been telling people all the time. They look at this egg thing, this egg video, and they immediately are like, oh, eggs, it's an egg. But I'm telling people, if you take that actual shape and you align that with what has been reported by the masses out there, most reports come in for that sort of shape.
The egg is the perfect. The egg is the perfect aerodynamic vehicle that has been proven.
Yeah. So I'm glad you're here to kind of validate that. Now, how about abductions and implants? I guess maybe. Do you get reports on implants and abductions? And if so, what are the numbers on that?
Implants and abductions are lower than normal than what we usually get for we'll get out of every UFO out of every, let's say, every 100 UFO reports we get, we'll probably get 15 to 20 abduction cases within that.
Okay. And have you found any of those that have been reported to be similar to the story that you're about to tell of your own?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Missing time, and just odd things that happened afterwards.
Okay. So we're gonna get this thing started here, getting into Jay's experience and his just mind blowing. So you guys just kick back and listen to what's about to be told. So you can jump right on into it. Tell everybody how this happened, and we'll go from there.
Okay. I was 16 years old. Me and my mother. I lived in Millville, Pennsylvania, up on top of the hill, and we had a circle driveway, a lot of land. About 3 acres of land. Not a lot of neighbors up on top of the hill. That's the way I liked it. I usually went back in the woods as a kid, and I'd be gone all day till the sun went down. But that day was different. Me and my mother would, let me smoke, but I had to smoke outside. Me and my mom had to smoke outside because my dad didn't let us smoke in the house. We respected that. We smoked outside. So it was 6:30 at night. We walked outside, and you'll just have to remember this for the end is we only walked out with one cigarette. We did not have a pack with us. We did not have another cigarette. We had one each. We walked outside. There was, it looked like a helicopter. That's what it looked like to me, like a spotlight off a helicopter off in the distance I was looking at the mountain next to me. And I was joking with my mother. I was saying, "Oh, look, Mom, ha ha ha! The police is out there. They're looking for somebody with a spotlight." And as soon as I said that, it went from about 3-4 miles away to directly above us. And I just remember that I looked up. We both looked up, and I'm looking at it, and it was no longer a light. It was like a light attached to something. I couldn't tell you what, because I'm still trying to figure that out myself. It was attached to a craft. The light hit us, and it was more like I got hit with electricity. My whole body was vibrating. It was like an intense trip. If you're going on one of those those circle rides, you know, that spin around real fast and you get off and you just start walking real fast. And you're like, I can't walk like this. You know, that's pretty much what I felt like afterwards. But during it, it was like, it was all energy. It was like vibrating my body. And then I remember that the light had gone away and we looked and it zipped off and it was gone. It looked like a meteor or a I don't even know. It was so fast, but it zipped away. And at that point, we looked at, you know, I didn't think nothing of it yet. And I put out my cigarette. Me and my mom. We walked inside and my mother's standing there looking at the clock, just staring at it. And I start walking past her and I'm going to play a video game or something on the computer. And she's like, it's bedtime. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's bedtime. It's 6:30 at night. She goes, no, it's 8:30. I'm like, no. I said, we just walked outside at 6:30 and now it's 8:30, but we had just put out that cigarette. How is that possible? And she says, I don't know. I'm really weirded out. That's why I'm just staring at this clock. Can you ask your father what time it is? And I said, okay, well, maybe the clock's wrong. So we ran in the living room, you know. I said, Dad, what time is it? He said, it's 8:37. I'm like, okay, something's not right here. So later on down the line, I decided to get, when I got out of the military, I found that I had a lump on my neck. And that's always been there since I was way young. I don't even remember how long it's been there. And I went and I saw the doctor. I went to the VA. I got x-rays done. And I said, what is this? And they said, it looks like a metal ball with an organic compound around it, but we don't know what the compound is, but it's organic. I said, oh, so you're going to take it out, right? And they said, no. I said, okay, why not? And they said, you can go to any doctor in the world. As long as it is not hurting you, they're not going to go after it because it's in a critical part in your neck where all your veins are, and it's right behind them. So it's like if they go in there, they risk cutting something that is going to be in the way. That's one of the main reasons I believe they put it there, so it couldn't be taken out.
Wow. That is mind-blowing, because I want to tell you this. And this, I thought about this as we've been talking for the last couple weeks, when you ran that story by me. I had a sighting, or I don't want to say a sighting because I don't know if it was that. I won't know till
you
I
had
get
an experience.
I had an experience where, and I've talked about this before, where I was about 9 years old in the car with my mother, and it was about 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and we were driving over this small overpass. And as we were driving over the small overpass, home was right around the corner. There was this burst of light that came into the car, and I'm thinking that it's the headlights from a car that maybe turned into our direction. And I look around, there are no cars. So the reason why I say that, because not too long after that, I want to say maybe a couple years after that, in the same area that you mentioned in your neck, I had this, but it was right on my collarbone, and it was like a pea-sized object that sat right on my collarbone.
That's exactly where mine is. I will tell you that right now. That is exactly where mine is.
Wow.
Hold on. I know the radio audience can't see, but I'll show you right here where it's at.
Let me get you closer here.
Right there is the object. Right there.
Yes.
And
yes,
right
we can see that.
Hold on, let me get. And right below that is my collarbone.
Yes.
Collarbone is right here, and the object is right here.
I don't know what that's weird.
It's weird. Right. Yeah. It's on the collarbone.
the other part was I was with my mother. You were with your mother. I wanna do some research into that and see if that's a thing. Do abductions happen with a mother and the sibling? Because you go into hybridization, all that. Maybe there's a connection there with something we could talk about further. But talk more about that because that implant is still in your neck. And let's talk about some of the characteristics because I think this is where it gets very crazy. And before you do that, I forgot to say this at the top of the hour. Please go ahead and submit your questions in all caps. I'm checking them and we will ask them at the end of this hour. But yeah, if you could talk more about like the characteristics of this thing.
Yeah, so what it looks like to me and what it looks like in the x-rays and everything that I've seen, even I even have I did an EMF meter and I said, okay. I said, if this thing is really an implant, because I'm a scientific person, like I said, I will follow the science. But it gets kind of weird when you start following the science because then you come up with stuff along the way and you're like, oh my God, this implant actually has a radio frequency signal coming out of it periodically. That to me is just like, why? How? What is it for? Why is it transmitting still? What am I receiving? Like so many questions that I have on that one.
Yes, and you actually we're going to be showing that here in just a moment. I thought I had it prepared, but what were some of the other things? I do have the other photo where you were showing the magnetic abilities of this thing.
Yeah, it's also magnetic. It's I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, I got this little magnet. I was like, I just wonder whether or not, this is metal or what. Before I went to the doctor and got the x-rays. So I put it up to it and it stuck right to it. And I was like, well, that's strange. So maybe it's some kind of metal. And then I thought, well, I was in Iraq. You have to go logically first. I was in Iraq. Could it be, shrapnel that wasn't taken out that is still implanted somewhere in my body? Because, I have had, like right up here, I have a scar on top of my head where I had shrapnel go into on top of my head. It didn't go in my head. Kind of scraped along the skull, but that's actually how I got the Bronze Star. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's a communication device, I believe.
All right, and I have that actually, so I can bring this up for our YouTube audience and the radio audience. I'll just describe what it is here.
The machine's called an EMF 390.
Okay, and bring that up here. Okay,
and that's what I said. I'll follow the evidence. I'm like, all right, well, what is this thing doing? And then I just, you go through the motions and you find out, hey, X, nope, X, nope. Oh, wow, yep. You go through that scientific process to find out what it actually is.
And let's show this is where you're talking about the magnetic abilities that this thing has. So you see where he pointed on his neck already earlier, and right there on the right above his collarbone, there's this, which I'm assuming is a magnet, right? That's
the magnet. I actually stuck to the bottom of it. It's got like this little wire or something into my collarbone.
Which, let me see how I can make this maybe a little bigger for everyone. Let me move this here. Yeah, so if you guys can see for the radio audience, it definitely, there's like a small tablet size, it's a pill size magnet that he has stuck to his neck, showing that the object under his skin is magnetic because it connected to this. And that is amazing. So it's obviously something that's metallic. And we talk about, recently Lou Elizondo talked about the some implants that have been also coated in this biological sort of encasing. Was that the same thing with yours?
Yes. The doctors determined it was a metal metallic sphere with a organic compound that they could not identify around it.
Okay, and then we also have, this is the EMF detector, the reading that you received from this object.
Yes. If you look, it says EMF and it says RF. Now, EMF says it's normal, but RF, radio frequency, says that I'm getting a signal at 5.873 coming out of that implant periodically.
Wow. Wow.
And you can see right below the meter there is actually the implant right there.
Yes, for the radio audience, he's holding a small EMF detector with the screen on it right above the spot where the implant is, and he's getting readings from apparently the implant underneath the skin, which is very compelling. And a lot of people don't know how to read these EMF detectors. So are you able to talk to what getting a frequency even means?
Any kind of frequency coming out of your body is a little weird, because we're not generally an antenna. We have our own vibrational frequencies, but as a person, but you should not be your own antenna when you walk around. It's just the weirdest thing. I'm trying to explain it. I even tried to explain it away. And I said, oh, it can't be this. So let me try this. And then it came out with that reading. And I said, well, that's interesting. Well, I guess I have to keep going then.
Now, also talk to this, because here's another uncanny thing. You talked about being, when we talk about potentially being abducted, that you were part of the GATE program.
Yes. Now, the Gateway program is when you are gifted and talented and kids out of class to the gifted and talented program down into the library. When you're taken into the library, there's an entire section that's been cleared out only for you. You walk in there and it's curtains drawn, and there's teachers, university professors, there's other people that are in there, and they're not there to tell you that what you're saying is wrong. They're there to ask you, what are you seeing? Because children's minds aren't polluted like adults are. When we're children, we are imagination. We are imagination machines. We love to imagine and dream. And then somebody tells you that you can't dream that anymore. You have to get a job. You have to do this. You have to, you're programmed into a certain way of thinking.
Which is pretty amazing, because the thing that was uncanny about all this is that from talking here, Jay and I have had this thing right in the same spot. I don't know where mines went. Mines just disappeared after so long. It was there. You couldn't move. They
moved too.
Anything. So it could be somewhere else. Now, I was with my mother at the time it happened. So were you. You were in the GATE program. So was I, in the gifted and talented education program. So are we lining some things up here? And that's why I want to get a regression, because I think maybe some of these things kind of come to light after that. I've just been kind of reluctant to do so, because I was just like, do I really want to know what those answers are? Have you thought about getting regression to maybe unlock what happened during your experience? Give me a quick answer, because we're going to commercial.
Yeah, sure. I want to do regression to get those 2 hours back. I just have not, with all the things I'm doing with MUFON, I haven't had a chance yet to do it myself.
All right. And we're going to go ahead and take the last break of this conversation, second hour, with our fantastic guest, Jay Albertson. We're unlocking things. We're going over all sorts of things. If you missed any of it, as I always say, you should probably hop in the archive, youtube.com, and pick up what you missed. Other than that, you don't want to go anywhere. We're going to wrap this thing up in about 30 minutes. We'll be right back. All right, we are clear. Yeah, that's definitely strange. This thing, and I can remember this. It was literally within 2 years of that event that I remember with my mother, and it would sit right here on my collarbone, right here, and you could see it because I was a lot thinner at the time. You could see it poking through my skin.
Yeah.
And I used to kind of mess with it and didn't know what it was. And then
I can do the same thing. You can pull it out of the skin and just like mess within your fingers.
Yeah. That's strange. So there may be something to that. Wow.
You should try doing the meter. Even though it might be gone, maybe it went behind your collarbone.
Yeah. Maybe it did.
EMF meter. It'll come up with everything.
That's very, very interesting. Very interesting. And I did get some questions here. Make sure you guys, I have some from the same person that we'll have to kind of narrow those down. We'll ask as many of them as we can. But
I'll try to be quick with the answers.
Yeah, we'll be okay. Let me see. This may actually kind of go through them now to make sure not redundant. Let's see.
But I was telling you before, Mr. Rob, when I come out with something and I say, hey, Mr. Rob, this is a story I got. I will never say that to you unless I got evidence to back it.
That's what I'm talking about, man. And that's appreciated, because obviously, man, it's hard to say it because there are experiences that just don't have evidence, and that ends up being okay. My thing is that, like, if you're in a position where you can continuously capture data and then you don't, that's where I'm like, okay, well, why tell the story if you had a chance to capture data and you just decided not to do it?
Yeah, exactly.
So, that bothers me a little bit. So it's like, and then it's just always appreciated because I tell stories about how there are people who have never had experiences ever in their life and maybe never will.
Yeah.
And their only way to kind of get a taste of what that feels like is to see your experience or the data that you're able to share.
And
like,
sometimes when people come out, they, if I come out, then maybe somebody else will come out.
Yeah. And then, come on, whoever has shown that an EMF detector was able to pick something up off of an object, it just leans into, kind of more validation of there's probably more to the story, right? And I'm sure that helped out, and it's appreciated. Like I said, anytime you can bring receipts, you should. You really should. And it's not just me saying that; it's just people would appreciate that. Don't think about me. It's not that I would appreciate it necessarily, even though I would. It's more for all the people watching. You know what I mean?
And it's more for credibility on the UFO disclosure topic in general. That's it.
That too.
I don't want to be out there saying, hey, I'm some top secret 007 spy, but I can't give you any paperwork. Nah, I don't run like that.
That too. I mean, you're right. And it's, because some people feel, there's a whole thing about disclosure being personal that people like to talk about, which I've always said there is an element that is, because it's you and then the event, but then and there's maybe you only had one experience where you couldn't bring your phone out, you didn't think to do it. Happens all the time.
Yeah.
So, but it's like when you are continuously in a position having experiences, then it's like you're being pointed or pointing to you to say, hey, you're being called on to kind of bring this information to others. Is how I feel about it. But
exactly.
Let me see. We have about a minute and a half here.
All right. and then I'll just I'll wait in the background then.
Okay, after the okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'll just wait in the background and we can talk afterwards if you want.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
But yeah, we still have 30 minutes left, you and I, right now.
Oh yeah, I know.
Okay. Cool. All right. And you guys take a moment and hit the like button before we come back from break. That would be awesome. If you guys could just stop right now, go under the screen, hit the little thumb button, and let's get the likes up. Jay's doing awesome tonight. Yeah, but it makes me think about that gate thing, and because a lot of people are just talking about that, and I was like, I was in gate,
And
and
you were also in the military too, weren't you?
I wasn't, but my father was. Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't make it.
It's family generational though too. Maybe they were looking at you.
Yeah. We'll have to talk more about that. We got about 5 seconds here.
Mhm.
We'll come back. Here we go. All right, everybody, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. After hour number 2, we're on the back half of the second hour with our guest here, Jay Albertson, retired military vet, MUFON director, experiencers. We were just talking about the experience right now. If you missed any of the conversation, hop in the archive, youtube.com/at Spaced Out Radio, as we get right back in to what we were talking about here. And yeah, so we're pointing out some things here with Jay's experience. He has this implant under his skin, right above his collarbone, where this thing is magnetic. He attached a magnet to it, and it snipped right to it. And it also put an EMF detector on it, and it brought up some sort of reading, gave off some sort of frequency. So you could try to look at that and make an explanation for what it is. We would love to hear it because we're open to skeptic opinions, but the evidence is there and it's repeatable, I'm sure. Have you tried to do this multiple times?
Yes.
Okay. So the evidence is there, it's repeatable, and it's something that I'm sure he'd be open to talking to you about. Maybe, we can figure out what's going on there. Now, the fact that it's somewhere where it's hard to take out, because that'll be the first thing people say, why don't you just take it out? It's in a bad spot. Go ahead and talk about that.
The spot now, when you have implants in, sometimes they'll be in a spot like in your ear or in your hip or something, or in your neck. They like to put them in spots to where they're not easily taken out. Okay. This critical part in my neck, where all my veins are that run up to my head, that implant is directly behind him. So they would have to go through those veins. They would have to go behind it, that and the veins and everything are right there in your neck. So they would have to literally pull it out of there through those veins, and they would be worried about clipping a vein or even snipping it just a little. That could be fatal. That's in your neck.
Yeah, I'm sure nerve endings as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh yeah,
that's a thing too. So yeah, I mean, there are people out there that and there's questions here that I'm about to get to that kind of where people are wondering about these implants. I had let's see, Blue Moon asked here, how do you know if you had an implant? Is this the reason they can abduct a person and locate them anywhere they are? Is there a doctor who can remove them?
Okay. How do you know if you have an implant? That is actually a good question. The only reason why I actually found my implant in my neck was the fact that, it's visible. 99% of the time, it's not going to be visible to the naked eye. So to know if you have an implant or not is kind of up in the air on that. But I do know that there is a doctor. I'm not sure the name, but he does implants as far as removing them. I think he has like 20 or so implant removed so far. Let me see here real quick. Let me see here. But go ahead with the next one, and I'll see what doctor this is.
Okay, and then Kim Jellin was asking, what's the size of it, like a pea size? Is that correct? Pea size?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
It's a little bit bigger than a pea.
Okay, and
there he is. Roger Creven Lear. He was the one that started it. He had passed in 2014, but I know another person took over for him in that same department. So if you look up his name and what department he was in, then you should be able to find out who continued his work afterwards.
awesome stuff. And then we have Sierra saying, dude, how old were you when this happened? Why were you smoking it?
Well, I mean, I was 16 years old, and it was 2000 and, well, what was it? 2001, I believe. I don't know. Back then it was like, it was a different story 20 years ago than it is today. Yeah. I was, 16 years old going to school. You could find a store 25 years ago that would sell you cigarettes.
Yeah, easily.
You just paid extra.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. And we got Blue Moon asking, Space Out Radio. In 2017, I had 2 reptilians appear in my bedroom by my window. Scary stuff, Blue Moon. Very, very scary. Let's see. MJ is saying, I've been told I was in a hybridization program, started at 6 years old, ended 68 years old. I'm now 70. Are we working with the aliens, or we have capability to abduct our own? Did a number on our shoulder. What do you think about that? The whole we are abducting humans.
Yep, we have the ability. We've had that. That's the Claris incident that I was talking about down in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
There's CIA documents out there that state that they did it. They did it as a misinformation campaign for the area to try to scare the locals out of certain spots so that they could grab the resources out of that area.
Okay. All right. And let me see. Okay. Let's see here. Make sure we get a good question. Okay. Blue Moon wants to know, where's the most common place they put the implant? Like, do you have any record of that? Maybe from MUFON or?
There's not really a certain place. They're mostly sometimes in the ears. If you'll feel like on the outside of your ear or whatever, if you have a bump, or on the inside, if you have a bump, a circle bump, that could be an implant. I have known them to be in the neck. They've been known to be near your pelvis area, and let me think, what other areas. That's all I can think of at the moment, but they can be found all over the body, but most of them are visible, but some of them aren't. And that's the key thing. You're never going to really know if you have one or not, unless you get a full X-ray or you do this. I after seeing this, that's why I went to the VA to get the X-ray. If I hadn't seen this, I'd never know it was there.
Yeah, and I'll speak to that. Not saying that mine is an implant, because I didn't get to do testing like you did, which would be awesome. But I'll tell you, the only way that I did find this anomalous thing was by kind of just feeling yourself, right? Kind of just touching yourself and notice, wow, what is that? And
what's different
there. But I'm just imagining, the time where it's not visible like that, and it's just somewhere internal. You would never be able to find that. You would definitely have to do like an X-ray or something, like you said.
Yeah, and there have been doctors. The one doctor that I was talking about that did remove the implants, he was also trying to remove one out of a person's ear, and it went from the top of the ear when he was trying to remove it, and it literally went all the way to the bottom. It moved itself down to the bottom, so it was evading the tweezers. When the tweezers were trying to get it, it was moving itself in front of the tweezers so it couldn't grab it.
And that's what Lou talks about. And
Yeah.
I know there's someone else that talked. Was it Whitley Strieber?
Yeah, Willie
Talks about
Strieber.
the invasive implants. Yeah, don't ask me, guys. I mean, they've said this, and there are accounts of where apparently the implant seems to move intelligently on its own. I don't know how, but it does. And then mine's mysteriously just went away. Not saying it was an implant, but it could be. We'll find out. Let's see. Okay, so we have that one, and Kim Jellen wants to know what do you think would be the point of an implant?
Communication and information gathering. Now that's a good, actually, I was going to say this at the end, but I'm glad you brought it up now, Kim. So you have an implant, right? You have a metal object in your neck. Now I'm going to get into something scientific. You have the spooky effect, right? Where, let's say you are connected to an alien being or an alien race, okay? And they want to implant you. They want to track you. What is the best way to do it? You don't just put a tracker in your neck. They put the organic compound from their body around that implant. So now you have the spooky effect to where if something happens over here, somebody's thinking something or something happens to this atom over here is doing the same thing.
Wow.
So if somebody's communicating with you using these, it could be possible with the spooky effect as far as interstellar communication with another species. This is possible if you take that into effect. You coat the outside of a antenna.
Now or did you freeze? Here's one thing that's important to say too about that specifically, because Paul Damon is going to be asking here, what do you tell skeptics?
Oh, there we are.
Skeptics will come into the conversation. So I just moved it to the next question saying this, Jay, that Paul Damon had a question like, what do you tell skeptics? Because skeptics will obviously have a million questions about any of the explanations that we give here tonight. And because here's one thing I do want to point out about the human body, guys, and I'm sure this is not a secret to a lot of people out there. There are growths, there are nodes and things like that people will find within their body.
Yeah.
So just because you feel something doesn't necessarily mean that it is some extraterrestrial implant. So let's start there for the skeptics, because they'll want to hear this. And as well, your body, what it does tend to do with foreign objects is as a defense mechanism, your body calcifies a foreign object within your body, kind of surrounds it with calcium and creates this hard outer shell to kind of say, hey, you don't belong here. So there is that happens too. But then that's where you take it a step further and you do research, like in the case that Jay has done here, where you put a magnet on it, because it shouldn't be magnetized if it's something your body created. And then also it shouldn't be giving off a frequency. So that's kind of where you start using the evidence now as to say, okay, this isn't one of those things. And that's kind of what I would tell a skeptic. How about you? Do you have something that you would tell a skeptic?
I would just tell a skeptic the same thing that I tell everyone, that if you're a skeptic, that's great. I want skepticism because it brings out the best in evidence. More people being skeptic is great. Be a skeptic. Come at me with questions. I want to answer your questions. You know what I mean? That is being that is being a leader for disclosure and not a middleman. You know, you tell the skeptics that you followed the evidence. That's exactly what any scientist would do.
Yeah. And just kind of especially pointing to a guest that we had on the channel last night was the skeptic. And I invite that. I would love for skeptics to come into these shows, come in the comments, come in. If you're watching, you're lurking, join the conversation in the comments. They don't mind. We want all those people together to kind of further the conversation. That's the only way that it happens.
Because maybe you'll bring up something that I didn't think of that I could test, you know?
Exactly. And let's see here. We have, let's see. Kim Jellin saying, what other things give off similar levels of radio signals? A transistor, a plant.
Radio signals. Well, radio signals can be given off by a lot of things. A lot of things give off their own signals, their own vibrations, as far as even a plant will give off vibrations, as far as like it knows when a plant goes from a tree goes from winter to fall and summer and all this, and it changes the leaves. That is a form of signal that is being transmitted to the plant saying, we are about to have winter. You got to get rid of these leaves. So even plants are even a level of signal and transistor. And actually, if you look, one of the scientists actually says that a plant leaf is the first ever quantum computer found in a plant. It's a leaf.
Let me tell you this. I actually did a show talking about if vegetation had consciousness, right? Because we were talking along the lines of that movie, The Happening, where the grass and everything was alive. And one of the videos that I played was this oh my God, it was the Pudica mimosa, I believe was what it was. And it was in, I think, in the Venus flytrap family. And this thing reacted to touch. It reacted to touch. And then they connected electronic inputs to some of the leaves, and you were able to make the plant go into these certain modes, showing that they give off electricity, they use electricity, they are sensitive to touch and all those things. So that just is just mind blowing to me when you think about that. Just crazy. And let me see. So we got the skeptic question out the way. We got, what do you think? Okay, we got that one. And Caged on the Inside's wanting to know, Jay, have you ever heard of foot implants?
Yes, but I'm not familiar with, like, I haven't seen any myself, but I've heard of them. Yes.
All right. And Blue Moon is asking, Jay, so if someone is implanted, will their ears ring? Will they hear different kinds of frequencies?
Yes. Normally now I'm still researching this myself, so I don't have the direct answer on this. I don't want to lead you astray, Blue Moon, but what I am looking at is that exact hypothesis there, because every time at night, if I'm sitting in that little room I have in the back, you know, with very small space, and I'm on my phone, it's weird. I hear the same things as you, that it's this little buzzing noise that you just hear off in the distance that is just, okay, is that a factory next to me that I hear this buzzing noise at night? Or is this a train or a train track that's near me that I'm hearing the buzzing from the train track, or the wind, or, you know, but eventually you run out of options, and you're like, well, they don't have that factory running at night, so it can't be that. And you just go down the line. So I I think the different frequencies, yeah, like when you hear them, you do hear some kind of like humming kind of noise or a low hum. And I've even asked my wife, I asked her the one day, I said, "Do you hear that?" And she said, "I hear it, but barely." And I said, "Well, I hear it like it's coming through my head." And she hears it barely. So it's like, that's the kind of frequencies that I've been trying to diagnose myself.
Yeah, and I heard that high pitch frequency, the one that sounds like, you remember back in the day when the TV stations used to go off air for the night, and they would have that tone that they would play.
Fuzzies.
Yeah, I would hear that too. That's very faintly. Let me see. Let's see. I think that was actually it on the questions. I did have a point that Robert Ordell was pointing out, saying, okay, surgical steel is used on the body. I don't know what the SS means. Stainless steel, 304 stainless steel, 316 stainless steel can be in your body without the antibodies attacking it because it doesn't set off the body alert.
Yes, and if this is a skeptical question, Robert, I got you on that, because even if it's surgical steel in the body and it's the body's own defense, it wouldn't have a signal. It wouldn't have its own radio signal.
Yes, I can agree with that. And I don't know if that was even directed to you or if
No, I'm just saying, I like I said, I love skeptics because I just love to point out some of the obvious, and then sometimes I don't know, and I'm like, I'm still researching that.
All right. Well, this is awesome. This is definitely awesome. We have a couple minutes left here, so if someone wants to throw in a buzzer beater question, you're more than welcome to do so. As we get okay, Emperor Penguin wants to know the EMF detector model number, if you have that.
Oh, let me get that for you. Actually, I got it right here.
All right, and I got your question. Kim Jellin will ask that right after he gives this off here. And other than that, guys, it's been a great conversation. So hit the like button, please, if you wouldn't mind, if you haven't done so already. If you are also new here for the first time, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well. We would love to see you back. We talk. We have a lot of great conversations here, 7 days a week. You'll find something going on right here on Spaced Out Radio, and he has the model number for you.
All right, it is a GQ EMF 390 with a model number of what is it? Well, I'll just hold it up here. If I can hold it up here.
It's doing the green screen thing. Let me see if I can get that up here. Yeah, it's not gonna make out.
All right. Well, it says it's by GQ Electronics LLC. It's a GQ multi-field EMF meter from CEGQ Electronics, and it's I believe this is serial number is 23794245521.
All right.
It's a tri-field meter, meaning it's an EMF meter that detects three different types of radio, or three different types of signal.
Okay, and we have about a minute left, 45 seconds. Kim Jellin is asking, does your mom have signs of an implant that you know of?
She never got checked, and none is visible on her body, so we're not sure on that. We don't think so.
As far as my mom goes, she's open to the conversation. We talk all the time about this now that she knows I do this show. So I'm definitely going to ask her and kind of see as I put my own pieces together. Where can everybody find you? So we have about 15 seconds left.
You can find me on Facebook. I'm also on X, and you can find me on MUFON.com. I'm one of the section directors, Pennsylvania. Also, if anybody needs to email me about anything MUFON, it's jay.nepa.mufon@gmail.com.
All right, that's been awesome, Jay, right at the buzzer. Appreciate you coming in. We're going to be talking again soon. You'll hang out in the back. And we'll be back with hour number 3 right after this.
Where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio. You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
All right, Jay, I'm going to put you in the bag and we'll start this commercial. Take care.
Yep.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show, after hour number 3. Want to thank our guest, Jay Albertson, for coming in, being awesome for hours 1 and 2. If you missed any of it, obviously archive youtube.com/at Spaced Out Radio. Hour 3, we're getting into some Steve Stockton and the return of Drew Benke as we go ahead and come back from radio here in like 2 seconds. Ready? Here we go. All right, everybody, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. It has been an awesome show tonight. We want to thank our guest, Jay Albertson, for coming in hours 1 and 2 and just really having an epic show. Also, we're going to get into some really great stuff here in hour 3, so you don't want to go anywhere. We got Steve Stockton, Tales Untold, Missing Person Mystery, followed by the return of Drew Benke, the After Hours wrap-up. It's going to be epic. You guys don't go anywhere as we get ready to go ahead and jump right on into our guy, Steve Stockton, who once again we are so honored to have as part of the show. And here we go.
Welcome to Tales Untold and Missing Persons Mysteries on Spaced Out Radio's After Hours. My name is Steve Stockton, and I'm here to take you on a journey of mysteries, legends, and true stories. Come, join me on this strange adventure of Tales Untold and Missing Person Mysteries. Hello, friends. Steve Stockton here with you. Welcome to a brand new episode 2024. In this video, we'll take a look at hitchhikers who went missing. Join me. Let's walk and see. Now, they say the road less traveled holds the greatest mysteries. And out there, on the roughly 4.2 million miles of roads and highways throughout the USA, that couldn't be more true. Every night, as the world sleeps, the highway becomes a stage for vanishing acts. It's as if the darkness itself has an appetite, devouring hitchhikers without a trace. Let's discuss some cases in which the following individuals were offered a ride to their destination, never to be seen again. Buckle up. This is going to be a strange one. First up, we have Mitch Weiser and Bonnie Bickwit. Mitchell Weiser, age 16, also known as Mitch, and his 14-year-old girlfriend, Benita Mara Bickwit, also known as Bonnie, were reported missing after being seen hitchhiking along a highway in Narrowsburg, New York. They were heading northwest towards a town called Watkins Glen, 107 miles away. The date was Friday, July 27, 1973, and the couple were desperately attempting to hitchhike their way to the Watkins Glen Summer Jam concert. The concert was a huge affair, boasting performances by the Allman Brothers, the Grateful Dead, the band, and many other popular artists of the time. Approximately 600,000 individuals were in attendance at the concert, earning it a spot in the Guinness Book of World Records. Out of the massive crowd that numbered well over 500,000, only 2 individuals vanished without a trace, Bonnie Bickwit and Mitch Weiser. No one has seen or heard from them since they attended and participated in the event. Mitch was a resident of the Flatbush neighborhood of Brooklyn, New York, and had initially intended to go to the concert with his friend, Larry Marion. However, due to Larry's mother's restrictions, Mitch asked Bonnie to join him instead. Bonnie and Mitch had been together for about a year when he decided to take time off from his summer internship at a photography studio in Coney Island to attend the event. He was determined not to miss it. He was overjoyed when Bonnie, who had been a parents' helper at Camp Wilmette during the summer in the Catskill Mountains, decided to join him. She had attended the camp as a child and cherished her time there. However, when her boss wouldn't approve her time off to go to the concert with Mitch, she quit on the spot and told him she would be back after the concert to collect her personal belongings and final paycheck. With worried expressions, Mitch's mother Shirley and his sister Susan pleaded with him to reconsider attending the concert. Both of them strongly believed it was a poor decision. Yet, he refused to change his mind and was determined to go. Shirley stepped in and offered him some money to cover his travel expenses there and back. At that moment, Mitch was already making his way out the door. It's unclear if he didn't hear or if he was purposely ignoring her, but with only $25 in his pocket, he left without a second glance and never returned. He would never step foot inside his home again. Mitch rode a bus to Narrowsburg and then hopped on another one to Camp Wilmette, where he arrived around midnight on Thursday. By this point, he was almost completely broke. He made sure to call his mother and sister to let them know he arrived safely, but also that he had very little money left. His mother and sister were understandably worried and tried once again to convince him not to go. But Mitch assured them that he would be fine and promised to see them when he returned home on Sunday. His plan was to hitchhike 150 miles northwest so he could attend the outdoor concert with Bonnie. After spending the night at their campsite, they had breakfast on Friday morning before embarking on what they thought would be an exciting adventure. A kind man in a pickup truck offered them a ride back to Narrowsburg, and they gratefully accepted before making their way to Highway 97. Using a homemade cardboard sign, they hitchhiked and asked for a ride to the concert. When the truck driver glanced back one last time, little did he know that it would be the final confirmed sighting of the two teenagers. As Sunday night passed without a call or appearance from Mitch as he promised, his family grew increasingly concerned. The next day, they were filled with worry and dialed Camp Wilmette to speak with Bonnie. To their dismay, they discovered that Bonnie also did not return on Sunday, and no one had heard from her either. Susan and Sidney Weiser, Mitch's sister and father, drove all the way to Watkins Glen to search for the two teenagers, while Mitch's mother, Shirley, waited anxiously at home. Meanwhile, Bonnie's parents, Theodore and Ray, were unaware of their daughter's disappearance since they were vacationing in Cape Cod. Upon hearing the devastating news, they rushed to Camp Wilmette without hesitation. They reported their daughter was missing, hoping for assistance in finding her. However, their hopes were quickly dashed as the police brushed off their concerns and chalked it up to another pair of teenagers who had run away after attending a concert. Just 3 days before her disappearance, Bonnie had sent a letter to her parents. In it, she expressed her happiness at Camp Wilmette and how much she valued the freedom she had there. She also mentioned that when she returned home, she hoped her parents would give her more space to grow and travel. This last part gave them hope that perhaps she had gone on a trip and would contact them soon. After the authorities refused to help with any investigation into their missing children, both Bonnie and Mitch's parents decided to let them explore their freedom for a while. They waited patiently for school to start again, hoping their kids were just traveling on their own. However, when neither of them showed up for the first day of school, all the parents feared the worst. Described as a sweet boy with shoulder-length hair pulled back in a ponytail, tortoise-shell glasses, and hazel eyes, Mitch was known for his love of baseball, his girlfriend Bonnie, photography, and the Grateful Dead. He even named his dog Casey Jones after one of the band's classic songs. His friends admired him for being courageous and rebellious. According to his sister Susan, he was a talented and gifted individual. She kept a box filled with her brother's belongings as a memento of the brother she loved dearly but lost too soon. Among the items in the box are his old tortoise-shell glasses, his poetry, ticket stubs from the 1969 Mets World Series, trading cards from the 1964 and 65 New York World's Fair, and a large birthday card made by Mitch's friends on his 15th birthday. At just 4 feet and 11 inches, Bonnie was a petite young girl weighing around 90 pounds. She had a face full of freckles and long brown hair. Her close friends often referred to her as a free-spirited individual with a sweet disposition, sharp intellect, strong determination, and fearlessness. Music was one of her passions, and she particularly adored the Allman Brothers Band. Bonnie was a student in gifted classes, and instead of going to a traditional high school, she chose to attend the experimental John Dewey High School. That's where Mitch and Bonnie first crossed paths and bonded over their shared academic successes. With impressive GPAs and ambitious plans for the future, it seemed unlikely that they would simply vanish without a trace. To make matters more suspicious, they had secretly exchanged wedding rings, leading the police to believe that they may have deliberately disappeared together. Even after 6 weeks of no contact, the police remained doubtful and dismissed the disappearance as simple teenage runaways. Frustrated by their lack of action, the parents of both missing teenagers took matters into their own hands and launched independent investigations, tirelessly working to bring attention to the case. In 1973, despite the passionate pleas for these two distressed families, investigators from 3 different counties in New York chose to ignore their cries for help and refused to launch an official investigation. Despite assurances from the NYPD that they would inform other agencies nationwide about the missing teens, they failed to do so. As a result, the Sullivan County Sheriff's Office also neglected to open an investigation on the case. On the 25th anniversary of the disappearance of the teenagers, Bonnie's sister, Cheryl Kagan, decided to launch an investigation to finally uncover the truth behind her sister and Mitch's fate. To her dismay, she discovered that the original case files, notes from investigators, dental records, and a list of potential witnesses had all been lost by both the Sullivan County Sheriff's Office and the NYPD's Missing Persons Squad. As a result, crucial information was not entered into the FBI's National Crime Information Center. A former detective from Sullivan County named Anthony Suarez confessed that he had been assigned to the case in 1994, but never attempted to contact the original investigator or make any effort to solve the mystery of Bonnie and Mitch's disappearance. Anthony Suarez passed away in May of 2020. Now, in the year 2000, a man came forward with a remarkable tale. Unfortunately, it was never confirmed, and the man has since passed away. In summary, he claimed to have hitchhiked with Bonnie and Mitch, who were desperately trying to get home from a concert they couldn't reach. They were supposedly picked up by an orange VW bus, but the driver pulled over when things got too intense. The group stopped at the Susquehanna River for a swim, but unfortunately, both Mitch and Bonnie were swept away by the strong current. The driver left, but promised to contact the police, so the other hitchhiker saw no need to do so himself. Eventually, he did meet with investigators at his own expense, and now the police believe his story is the most likely explanation for what happened to the missing teens. Nevertheless, the families remain doubtful and are waiting to hear from the driver or any other potential witnesses. However, despite their efforts, no one has stepped forward with any information about the incident. This case remains unsolved.
All right, that is Steve Stockton Tells Untold Missing Person Mysteries. Love that he's a part of the After Hours radio show, and just like I said, he can read anything. Just pick it, and it's going to be suspenseful. But shout out to all those missing. Hopefully all those cases get resolved at some point. Steve Stockton playing a big part in getting that message out there, right? As we go ahead and get ready to jump into now the After Hours wrap up with the return of our guy Drew Banky. Let's go ahead and bring him in. Let's go.
Come here, I'm gonna eat you! Get in my belly!
Kick him in the north! He doesn't have north! Do it! That man's got north! You're a monster!
That's right. Getting into it, the After Hours wrap up with none other than Drew Banky back in the building after Tim James filled in for him brilliantly last weekend. Shout out to Tim James for doing that, stepping in for the guy. Now the guy is back in the building. How have you been, man? It feels like forever. How have you been?
Jet setting, man. Been across the world and back again, all over again, and just man. Was Joshua Tree Retreat was amazing. We're already booking a second one in April 25th to 27th. So if anybody's looking forward to wanting to do, if they missed the first time around, which they did because we only had 8 people show up.
Wow.
But, man, you're missing a great space. It's amazing. Hot tub is open anytime you want. In between events, the food's amazing. We got catering, and it's an amazing space. So book the next one, dude. Book the next one.
Yeah, you're in high demand, man. And so they asked you to come back and do a second one, which was actually awesome. And you're just getting the message out there even more, which is beautiful to sit back and watch, man. I might try to be at that one. I'm not gonna commit fully, but I'm gonna try. So it's at the same location.
I'm telling you, man, it's an amazing venue. And the last retreat we had some people had some major breakthroughs in their life, just major breakthroughs. We just got back from Denver. I just got back from I took normally it takes like 3.5 hours to get back from Denver from there, and it took us 7 hours today because it was so much snow, fog. I mean, it was crazy the whole way back. But we went and seen Dr. Phil live at the Paramount Theater in Denver yesterday. We had front row VIP tickets, so we got to stay over to the after party and everything and hang out with him. It was awesome. Rumor has it that we ate mushrooms together last night with Adam Ray as Dr. Phil, but that's just a rumor.
So you're telling me, Drew, you went to see Dr. Phil. This is my Dr. Phil. This is me trying to do a Dr. Phil voice. But that's awesome, man. That's awesome, dude. Yeah. Bring all that good energy right back up in here, man. Like we've been needing it too. A lot of things going on in the UFO world. We had Annapolena Luna come out and finally make her little statement that she had teased for like a week. I think you were gone during that whole time, but it turned out to be this committee. What does she call it? The federal. I want to get this right. I don't want to misquote it because I have it right here. So, it is the Task Force on the Declassification of Federal Secrets. This is the new committee that's being proposed. That's, I guess, a thing now, where this committee is going to task releasing government secrets, all the government secrets, JFK assassination, RFK, MLK, UFOs. Did you hear anything about that while you were off?
I did. I heard that they're looking at JFK files, and it's apparent that there was a second shooter.
That's what she says.
We've been talking about that since before I was born.
But are we going to get the answers?
Are we going to get the answers? I don't know, man. Like,
that's the
who
thing.
knows? Like, man, the whole response to the whole drone situation, it really, it just rubbed me the wrong way. We know it wasn't genuine, and like, when are we just gonna like? When is there gonna be transparency? Like, in between the government that is supposed to look out for us. Oh, it's like that. It's like the grown-up syndrome or the mom and dad syndrome where they keep certain things from you because they think it's doing you good, but it actually is doing you harm because they're just lying to you over and over and over again. Eventually you don't trust your parents. Like, this is that whole scenario just played out on a bigger scale. And we're all grown-ups. Like, just tell us the raw truth. Like, don't filter any of it. Don't delay any of it. Just tell it to us, man. And by the way, that dude talking, the veteran, I've been sitting there rubbing my neck the whole interview, thinking whether I got a knot in my neck or an egg-shaped crack.
Yeah. It's a real deal, man. It's a real deal because that whole, I like I said, I'm not going to say what I had was an implant, although when I was a kid and I was very skinny at the time and you could see my collarbone sticking out and this thing was sticking out on my collarbone. And it was weird to look at because you could clearly see it. And I would kind of just be insecure about it. And I used to kind of just touch it and be like, damn, like, why does this have to be here? And, then it ended up disappearing after a period of time. But it's just a lot of stuff that he was saying there kind of lined up with my own experience going back to being in the car with my mother when I was like 9-10 years old. I might have been 9-10, right in that age range. And then at night, and then this big flash of light filling up the inside of the car, where I look at the prosaic explanation for that being a car with high beams on kind of turning in our way, but no cars were there. So there's still something to be filled in or whatever there. But I know within a year after that happened, 1 to 2 years, is when I noticed that thing being on my collarbone. Now, obviously, being 10, 11 years old at the time I found it, there's no way I've done any research on what it is, and then it disappeared after about a year or so. You know, it wouldn't move at all. It was just stuck on my collarbone, would not move for all that time, and then it kind of just went away. But it's just strange because it lines up with a lot of stuff that Jay was saying, and I don't know, maybe there's a thing to that. And we talk to other people, maybe other people have had implants near their collarbone or on their collarbone, and you know, maybe there's something more to it. A guest person in the audience asked about the mother. Did the mother have an implant? He says, as far as he knows, that she didn't. And then I'll talk to my mom and ask her, but I don't think she barely remembers the incident. But I'm gonna see if maybe if she's open to regression as well. Maybe we can do it at the same time. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows, man? That would be interesting though to find out, like how far it went back, because I bet there's linkages that links your mother, and then it goes back and back and back and back. You know, I bet
That's what people seem to say.
if you could really like zoom out and just question your whole like family line, I bet there's a link that goes back a ways, man. You know what I'm saying? But man, oh, when I was flying, some weird stuff happened. The first time I've ever seen or identified an air marshal like on a plane, and he was happened to be sitting right in front of me. The stewardess come back and she like typed something on her phone, and she looked at this guy and she's like, "Don't say anything, just read the message and answer yes or no." And I was like, "Oh, that's weird." And this is going on like right in front of me. So she like holds the phone over to him, and he looks at it, said yes. And she goes, "Have you talked to the pilot? Have you talked to the main, was it the captain or whatever, the main pilot?" And he's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay, have a nice flight." I'm just like, what does that do? Like, is that an air marshal? What is that, dude? You know, and like all this stuff with planes going down. Man, it was some of the roughest flying I've ever had too. It's insane.
Because here's the thing, that could be a meme. You could sit here and fill in those blanks with a million different things. Like he reads the thing and says, are you aware that there may have been a bomb on this plane? Yes.
Right.
Have you talked to the captain about this or whatever it was next?
Right.
You can put anything in those spots right there. You know what I mean?
Right. Do you know about this guy sitting right here be in the seat behind you? Like, do you know about this guy? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, who knows?
Yes.
Who knows, man? My videos getting pretty popular, so I mean, you know, they might be looking at me.
The guy
it might be important enough.
DMT is sitting right behind you on this plane. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in his carry-on.
No, but that's spooky. That's scary. And I wanted to say something too to one of the things you were talking about with the whole drone thing. So there's a story that I'm going to be reading later in the UFO news report that kind of points to there maybe have been some sort of alien invasion that the government was investigating back in like the 50s or the 60s. And the reason why that popped up is because it's like, obviously they wouldn't tell us. And if this is true that it happened back then, they were at least investigating it. They wouldn't tell us if they were investigating something like that now. And it's like, if they knew that something like that was coming, would we ever know until it got here, sort of thing? And that's kind of what we'll be looking at later. But we got about 30 seconds left before we go to radio, man. It is awesome having you back. Glad to see that you were able to see the world and travel the world and make it back safely, man. And I just hate that 7-hour drive back. That's exactly why I can't live near the snow. I used to live in Sacramento by Reno, and making that cross over 80 on the pass, you could be up there for a full day. As we go ahead and get ready to go into this last break here with Drew Banke with the After Hours wrap up right here on Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show. It has been an awesome show so far, guys. I'm telling you, and we still have more to come. So make sure if you do leave that you come right back, because we're going to wrap it up in a fantastic way. See you in a minute. All right, we are clear. Yeah. So,
dude, I'm gonna send you a few pics real quick on Facebook.
All right, let me bring these up here real quick here, buddy.
Where's this at? There it is. There's some. Anyway, there's some.
On Messenger, right?
Yes, sir. Man, how has everybody been doing? I've been missing everybody. I checked in. I listened to a little bit of is it last week or whatever. It's like I wonder who's filling in for me, so I had to check in. I was sneaking in. I made sure not to comment either because I don't want anybody to know I'm in there.
It's lurking, buddy.
Yeah, I heard you talking about me, and it was all wonderful.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Wonderful ways you talk about me. So
yeah,
I'm
never.
watching, dude. I'm watching.
Yeah, it's always that way, man. I'm telling you, man. We appreciate what you do, bro. And it's just what
man.
it is.
I try.
And I think this is funny. Bring that up. That is hilarious.
So this is Adam Ray dressed up as Dr. Phil. Some people are asking about Dr. Phil dropping shrooms. No, it's actually Adam Ray dressed up as Dr. Phil dropping shrooms with Drew Banky. But the shirt I'm wearing says Bufo Various. So I've invited him to ceremony and stuff and told him I will set up a private ceremony for him and his whoever he wants out at our new spot in Joshua Tree. And the other pictures I got is of our spot in Joshua Tree.
All right, let me go through the next one here. Oop, hold on. Oh, that's me. That's what I put in your thing. Okay.
Yeah. Appreciate that. There it is. So this is the main room of the place that we have in Joshua Tree that we're working out of now. Yeah, a lot of stuff moving forward. And this is the main living room ceremonial area.
Beautiful stuff, man.
Yeah,
I'd love to be there. That's awesome. It's right by me too, which is just the craziest part. So I gotta be there, man. It's like actually, 8 rooms in there. It's
29 palms. It's actual, but Joshua Tree, it's all the same area. That's a hot tub. It's that's open 24/7, and you can use it any other time that we're not doing ceremony or something, any event.
The 29 Palms, that's where Corbell, that video that he put out, that they ended up saying it was military flares. It was the same area. And that's what I'm talking. That's what I'm talking about.
It's an oasis, man. So, yeah, along with this is seating area, and the house is really nice. So it's got 5 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. So and all the food, and we spent, I think it's like over $400 on groceries for the 2 days that we were there. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Especially, I mean, you probably experience okay weather, way better than from where you're at, I'm sure. But
oh my God, it was amazing. It was 80s, lower, it was 82 during the day, a little chilly at night, but during the day, it was just amazing. I spent too much time in the hot tub.
I'm telling you, look, that's it's what we get out here on the West Coast, man. That's how we do it out here in California, man. So yeah. Especially now, imagine the one in April is going to be even more epic than that, buddy.
Yeah, we got new medicine coming. from a different source this next time so it's going to be 2 ayahuasca ceremonies, combo ceremony and bufo ceremony, all in one package, plus the stay, and private rooms are a little extra, but yeah, other than that, base price is $1,000, so for the whole weekend. And that's 4 ceremonies in the whole week, and 2 nights of ceremonies with ayahuasca and all the food and everything. It's all inclusive. So
Well, we got time to kind of figure that out promotion wise, and we'll make
yeah.
sure we talk about it as we got about 10 seconds left when we come back from break here. 5 now, if you're ready. 3, 2, let's go. All right, everybody, welcome back. Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours Radio Show. We are on the back half of the third hour. We're going to wrap up the show in about 20, 30 minutes here. Fantastic show so far. We had our guest, Jay Albertson, military vet. Make sure you guys go back and watch hours 1 and 2. It was a fantastic conversation. Also, hour number 3, we're welcoming Drew Banky back here with the After Hours wrap up. Shout out to Steve Stockton as well. As we'll get into some weird news before we wrap up the show, but getting back into the conversation. So, we had our guest on, military vet you met before the show as well. So we talked about, being able to present receipts. Because, my thing is hashtag receipts when we talk about bringing anything to the table. He brought his I Love Me book. If you heard him talk about that. Just basically a book full of all the achievements and things that he done while in service.
Yeah.
How do you feel about being able to validate yourself or validate who you are, what you've done, through means like what he presented today?
It's so important. It means everything when you got paperwork to back it up, because there's a lot of people out there that tell some pretty wild stories, like I've proven before through paperwork, through NCOARs, which is non-commissioned officer reports, yearly reports. I've proven through that before that I've done missions with Navy SEALs. Like it's on there on one of the bullet points of me doing joint operations with Navy SEALs, and to include other military special operation forces in combat operations in Iraq. So that's a lot of people can talk about that, but I mean, I have the receipts to prove that, and that doesn't. I'm not that type of guy, but it is part of my story, and it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing to look back on. It's something I forget about at times, but being able to validate something, I mean, it means everything. It means it helps people. It helps people believe the things that can't be validated. You know what I'm saying? Like the experience is okay. That this guy's not lying about in A, B, and C. What makes you think he's lying about D? That could, maybe he doesn't have such good evidence on it, because let's face it, this paranormal, and the paranormal, all this stuff, the quantum field, it's hard to articulate. It's even harder to understand, and it's even harder to prove.
And I asked him this question, and I'm going to ask you the same question. So, when you have guys that come forward like David Grush or just any of these whistleblowers that have previous military history, and they come out and they tell their stories. So what happens with skeptics is they immediately jump on those stories. They go into a investigation mode, which I don't see any problem with. You should definitely do that, do the vetting. But they'll say, okay, we found out that this person really didn't do this in the military like they stated. And it's just like, I find that, I ask myself, like, why would a military person step forward and say I did these things when these things are verifiable? And like probably one of the first things that would be looked at. And so it stands for me to wonder, like, is this something that they should be able to clear up immediately by showing some of this former paperwork? Or, is there a way that they should be able to immediately kind of answer that question for that skeptic when they pose it?
Yeah, I mean it's best to have a response ready, like and if you're in this for any amount of time, like you know what's going to come up mostly. It's always a little different, but you know what the responses are, and you know what's going to trigger them. Like Lou and Grush, and others. They attack Grush's PTSD from his military service, and they attacked his credibility and use his PTSD as part of that. Attack on the credibility. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
That he got that from his service. And Lou, he was just on Sean Ryan just a couple days ago. The interview got released. It was in my break when I was gone, but Lou was on Sean Ryan, and if you listen to that interview, you can tell that Lou is very well read. Of what will be said. I'm not saying it was a rehearsed interview or anything like that, but I'm saying Lou knows what is going to be attacked, what is going to be nitpicked apart, and what are basically the weak points of his story. Not that there's any weak points, but there's always something that's going to trigger people to comment or dig into it or further or something like that, or question it. And he already knows ahead of time of what that's going to be. It's a very interesting interview that Lou did that on Sean.
Yeah, I'm just when I asked that question, when I kind of, trying to figure it out, because I'm just like, you know, first of all, my mind gets blown every time a skeptic is able to uncover something that what whistleblower said is untrue. And maybe it's not that it's untrue, and maybe that's why it doesn't get answered to. And I don't know if there's a way to kind of resolve that, but this is the thing that they like to bring up when talking about why this person shouldn't be trusted in the things that they are saying, even though they have this military background, which can be verified, but they pick these little things like, oh, he wasn't first tier responder. Oh, he didn't actually serve in this part of the military, like he stated. And I'm just like, okay, pose the questions, but should these people be able to kind of clear it up immediately? And then if they don't, then why? That's kind of the thing
Right.
I'm getting to. Like,
Who
why
was
wouldn't they clear it up?
So let's break this down. Who was supposed to be the tier one operator, but then
That was Jake Barber.
was that Jake Barber?
Yeah, that was Jake Barber. And
Okay, so
they said based on his paperwork, he wasn't the tier one operator. And I'm like,
so
okay,
he
well,
but
he
he
should be
was
able to step up and validate that for them,
wasn't he
right?
special forces?
I don't know. I can't say that for sure. I don't know.
I
I
thought
know
he
he
was.
was working through the
I
contractor.
thought he was in 10th group. I thought he was. No, that's different. That's the pilot. Okay, the pilot is Jake Barber. That's the egg.
Pilot's Jake Barber. You're talking
Okay,
about the other whistleblower, Fred Baker.
the Tesla guy. So that's 10th group. That would be so tier one operators are like Special Forces, Green Berets, Navy SEALs, Delta Force, CAG. CAG and Delta Force is the same thing. So if someone says Delta Force or CAG, CAG, they're talking about the same they're talking about the same thing. But so that's tier one. Like tier two would be army marine recon, rangers, things like that, and some of those even might be considered tier one. But like that's how the pecking order goes.
So let me ask you this: have you known of anyone that served in the service that lied about what they did? Like, is that a thing? Do people really do that?
uh I wouldn't
Yeah,
call it lying, but a lot of people
over
embellish.
embellishing. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Some people do lie. There's some people do lie, and but it's more embellishment. Like, okay, I did this, but I'm gonna add on just a little bit here and there.
So isn't that something though that they know is easily find out? Like someone can easily find out about that.
Are you talking about whistleblowers or veterans
Just
in general?
period. I guess just looking overall for anyone that comes
Uh,
from within the service,
I
isn't
would
that information
I would
right there in
say
the vet?
veteran community would be like most people probably think that they're not going to be researched, as far as whistleblowers, like if you go whistleblowing anything in the military now, like as far as UFOs, and you're a past military member, and uh open yourself up to that, you got to know that you're going to be picked apart. But like most veterans going in, like wearing a uniform, trying to get a free meal on Veterans Day or something like that, or just what, like stolen you've heard of
Mm,
like stolen
yeah.
valor, stuff
Yeah.
like that. That's, I don't know, they're just lacking something in themselves. They didn't accomplish what they wanted to accomplish in the military or something like that. And there's time I wouldn't say I was as far as embellishment, but I was definitely there was a stage I went through. It was like I didn't accomplish everything I wanted to accomplish when I was in the military. I wish I would have went back and tried out for special forces again and things like that. But that stuff fades. But when it's like peaking in high school, I hate to say it, but a lot of veterans, like this is one of the peak things they're going to do in their lifetime, is like being a veteran and going to Iraq.
Mhm.
I went through that too. I just chose to find something that was even more profound than what I could do on the ground in Iraq. I just found something more profound than that. And
Yeah.
keep on going. And my mission is helping people, however that is, like through words or ceremonies or whatever.
That's actually a great way to put that, Drew Bankey. I'm glad you're able to give context to that as well. As far as how that's looked at, because yeah, when you look at just like you said in high school, there's was it Al Bundy has his famous
Yeah.
high school football story, just ever evolving and ever changing. So yeah. So I can get that, and I can get more perspective on why a person would sit there and do that. But as you pointed out, if they're going to be a whistleblower, obviously this is on a big stage where uh, you're likely to be vetted. Like it isn't like maybe
Yeah.
they'll check you out, but you probably will be vetted. And so
Yes.
for me, it's just
100%.
I'm just looking at it because I want to see it from a skeptical angle, because they are always like, well, he's lying. He didn't do what he said he was gonna. That he said he did. And so I'm just looking at it like, okay, well, that if it's true what the person is saying they've done, they should be able to immediately come back and say, hey, this is what I did. Let me show you something. And that way they can kind of get over that part of the argument, because I'm just wondering why they don't do it. And it's like, okay, so are you hiding something then? Is it true that you didn't do what you said that you did? Because maybe it's something definitely to be concerned about. And that's just being fair, looking at it from both sides.
Yeah. It's people are gonna say, you're always gonna, especially when it comes to something that's gonna grab attention, because it's gonna bring forth the people that actually have a story, actually have information to share, but it's also gonna bring forth those people that have something missing inside themselves, and they find the opportunity to fulfill that from an outside source. Just think about, like, it goes with anything. Like, how big a fish did you catch? Well, it was a 12-inch bass. And you tell the story, and it moves from a 12-inch bass to a 14, and then by the
Yeah.
time you're doing it, it's a 2-foot bass. How many how and how many touchdowns did you score in high school? Anything like that. You go back to the Al Bundy thing, but it's anything. It's anybody telling a story. Like, you're gonna add on stuff, especially if you're missing something inside yourself. So that's why I always say,
Right.
like, the true work is inside yourself. Balance yourself, tell your truth, and then you don't have to worry about, like, what story you made up or the details that you made up, because it's just your truth, you know, and people can tell when someone's telling the truth.
Great point, Drew Bankey. I appreciate that. And I'm just have you hang around for a minute while I do the news, and then we can in the show afterwards. Carl Bidden saying, Rob, be aware that the DD-214 doesn't mention everything, especially site assignments. Okay. That is good to know. Appreciate that, Carl Bittner. And Jeremy Jones is saying, hey, lying is lying. Okay, and that's a great way to put that as well. Lying is technically lying. I can agree with that. As we get ready to kind of wrap this up, I'm going to jump into the news. Drew Banky's going to hang out with me for a minute while I do that. And we are going to do that right about now. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
All right, UFO and weird news of the week. Told you I had the story about the CIA documents revealing secret research on the possibility of alien invasions that were intentionally withheld from the public. Yeah, so before we even start that, just imagine that scenario. They know that these things are coming to invade, and they just don't tell you. Sounds like a lot of things that we're currently going through, but here's the story. The classified CIA documents revealed the U.S. government was assessing the possibility of alien invasion during the 1950s and 60s. The first well-known sighting of an unidentified flying object, or UFO, can be traced back to 1947, when businessman Kenneth Arnold claimed to see a number of flying saucers in Washington state. While UFO obsession persists to this very day, sightings have spiked at different points in history. Modern alien theories can be traced back to UFO sightings of the 20th century. According to various declassified documents shared via UFO advocacy group Disclosure Party, abnormal numbers of reports during the 50s and 60s prompted a joint venture from the U.S. and Australian governments to assess extraterrestrial reports. The 58-page document shared by the National Archives of Australia states the project ran from 1957 until 1971 and evaluated the likelihood of an alien invasion. This research ran alongside a similar time to Project Blue Book, a study of UFOs by the U.S. Air Force that began in 1952, following a bunch of sightings in the skies above Washington, D.C. Quote, to prepare the public for the possibility of contact, 41 previously classified reports were released for publication between August 1952 and February 1953, the document stated. Physicist Howard P. Robertson would chair a scientific panel on the reports, concluding there was no evidence of a direct threat to national security in the objects cited. Wow, that sounds familiar. Project Blue Book would later be canceled in 1969, with the focus shifting towards public education around UFOs. However, it would now appear intelligence officers were continuing the investigate the matter further. The document goes on to state that former CIA Director Admiral Hillenkotter, Major D. Fournet, and others all publicly stated that the U.S. government knew UFOs were extraterrestrial, but was withholding the fact from the public. Restrictions on how individuals were able to discuss UFOs was subsequently tightened, with active personnel threatened with up to 10 years in jail and up to a $10,000 fine should they speak out. The reports also revealed how the CIA shifted their tactic towards explaining UFO phenomena publicly instead of focusing on methods of debunking sightings. According to a statement from Harry Turner, who was the head of the Australian Department of Defence's Joint Intelligence Organization, he said, quote, by erecting a facade of ridicule, the U.S. hoped to allay public alarm. The memo continued, quote, to reduce the possibility of the Soviet taking advantage of the UFO mass sightings for either psychological warfare, or actual warfare purposes. It's also believed that this facade allowed security forces to look at developing aircraft which emulated UFO performances. This included the failed Canadian Avro saucer, an aircraft developed at the turn of the decade that reflected popular ideas of what a UFO would look like. So, yeah, what do you think about that story right there, Drew Banky, before I give my input on that?
What I always say, man, I just wish that they would stop messing with us and just tell us like the information. Like why do they have to whitewash everything? Like why do they have to whitewash everything? Like we're grown adults. Why can't we can handle whatever they bring at us? And I really think that they're hiding is our relationship too. Or they're trying to hide it. And they keep trying to throw us off by it. What's your thoughts on it?
No, you're exactly right on that. And I'm just gonna read because I don't think this came from that.
What about national security? Like I see everyone bring up the first thing that pops up, national security. What about national security?
Yes, and this is straight off the paperwork right here. The two documents attached are intended to focus on aspects of the UFO probe problem that have tended to remain hidden. The report dealing with the U.S. attitude has been compiled from official reports and statements made by the CIA, U.S. Air Force, congressional hearings, and Project Blue Book records. The second document deals with evidence for weapon systems used by UFOs. This evidence has been culled from computerized records collected by Dr. Valet in collaboration with Dr. Hynek's Northwestern University and represents only a fraction of worldwide reports dealing with the same weapons systems. Australia has had its share of this kind of reporting. Number two, intelligence aspects include assessment of the real from false reporting, capabilities of propulsion methods, and possible weapons used, motivation of operations, scientific, etc., for both short-term and long-term, and whether there are more effective ways to detect these operations or defend them if necessary. I heard UFO weapons in there, so at some point in time, it would appear that we know that they have weapons on board these craft. When were they used? That's a big question. Maybe we'll get into some more of that when we do the UFO news tomorrow. But first of all, I want to thank our guest for tonight, who is retired Army veteran Jay Albertson, for coming in and having a fantastic show, hours 1 and 2. I want to thank Drew Banky for coming back on the scene, making it happen with the After Hours wrap up. I want to thank Steve Stockton as well, as always, Tales Untold Missing Person Mysteries. And we also want to thank each and every one of you and this man right here that you hear, Ron Bumblefoot Thor, the man who rocks us out each and every weekend, as he teaches us to say never again, because yes, the phenomena is real, which means anything and everything is possible. So if you love tonight's show, make sure you show your love, hit the like button, also throw your horns up. Also, we want to thank our listeners and viewers from whenever and wherever in the world you may be listening from. We want to appreciate you for tuning your frequency to Spaced Out Radio, where we do what we do best. And what's that, you ask?
Own the night.
We own the night. This broadcast is copyrighted SOR Media Ventures Limited, Spaced Out Radio. It has been a pleasure serving you. Once again, as your host, I'm Mr. Rob G. That's Drew Banky right there. This is the After Hours radio show. And to all you space travelers, this is not a goodbye nor a farewell. However, as we go off air for the night, you can best believe we'll be right here, same time, same place tomorrow. Be here, be there, or be squared. Thanks for coming in. Have a great rest of your night, guys. Take care. right, we are clear. Awesome show. Mr. Rob G, what headphones are you using? Audio Technica? Yes, that is exactly what I'm using. Fast Hemi. And they're studio monitor headphones, and they're the bomb, believe me. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap the show up. We have some after show stuff that we have to do offline. So you guys, thanks for coming in. You have all been awesome. And we will be back here tomorrow with Jimmy Blue, who is, I don't know if he likes the word impersonator, but he is a Jimi Hendrix 1-to-1. I mean, if you haven't seen him play live, we may show some of that tomorrow, but the guy is awesome. He also does Al Green as well. And he is going to talk about some of Jimmy's hidden messages, UFOs and aliens in the music, as well as a lot of other things. It should be an awesome show, something not expected right here on Spaced Out Radio. But as you know, we're going to have a great time with it. So I would love for you guys to make sure that you're here for that and come in and show your love. Outside of that, we're up out of here. Have a great rest of your night. Take care, guys.
Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution.